I'm going to give you a bit of a sort of couple of tips based on the Digitakt. This is sort of the process we went through learning when we were doing a cover of a Talking Heads tune as part of the MADI project. Just to give a bit of background, I've had the Digitakt for a couple of years. Loved it, great, really good for kind of making little beats. But there's always something sort of holding back, which was the workflow. Obviously, it's a bit of a cliche. Got to learn all the sort of electron workflow. So I'm going to sort of teach you a few little bits to get from a sort of loop here into a finished performance. Number one is learning about the project layout. So the first thing is what is a project, what is a bank, what is a pattern, what is a sound. I'll go through all that. So it kind of goes in that order. So a project, you load from this page here, project, load your project. You've got all your different projects here. I call this one lockdown because it's all the sort of sounds I've made in the lockdown. And when you open it, you can have 127 sounds loaded within that particular project. So here you can see this has got 127 different sounds loaded into it. And that's the limitations of what you can have loaded into that particular project. Below that then, you've got your banks, okay? So you click bank here, and then you've got all these different banks on the bottom, so 9 to 16, so you can have 8 different banks there. So you can load your bank. I've got this particular one loaded on bank 16. Then you can see there the patterns get loaded within that as well, okay? So I click bank 16, and if I want to load pattern 1, click that and I've loaded pattern 1 then, okay? So there's sort of like folders and subfolders of different things. And within that then you've got all your different sounds, okay? So that's where you know, you've got your kick, your snare and all that sort of stuff, right? The second tip would be about muscle memory. So within your different kind of songs, almost keeping your different sounds on the different pads up here. So a lot of them are labelled, okay? So you've got your kick on 1. I usually have my kick on 1 there, snare on 2. For this particular track, I didn't have a hi-hat. I had a sort of shaker sort of sound. I did have some later on, which I kept on the ones that are called closed hi-hat and open hi-hat. Clap on 4. The bass sounds is usually kind of keeping to number 5 there. And then some of the other ones then, they just sort of, you can put your different samples on them. But the reason for kind of keeping it sort of uniform is so that when you're kind of quickly going, right, I'm going to drop the kick out, or I'm going to do this to the bass, you know instinctively from song to song that your kick's on 1 and your bass is on 5, that sort of thing. So the next thing would be structuring your set. Okay, so with this particular song, it's the kind of the same bass sound all the way through, with different elements dropping in and out, different drum beats, that sort of thing. So if I play it now, that's the first part of it. What we did with this particular track is I built it on one pattern, and then I got to a point where I was kind of like bringing different bits all in and out, and I was thinking, how do I kind of make it a bit easier for myself in order to be able to, you know, change to a different pattern, and then different things start happening, and that's where I kind of started going through all the different sort of learning process, really. So with this song, it kind of goes through an intro, a verse, a little build up and a chorus. Then it does the same sort of thing again. So what I did there is go from 1 to 8, with the 1 being the intro, pattern 1 being your intro, and then go into your verse. Obviously it kind of waits until the end of the bar, and then your breakdown. Obviously MADI's doing stuff with the keyboard and singing and stuff like that at this point. And then your chorus here. Not sure what's happening with the tempo, it's kind of changed here. I don't know what's happening there. So I can kind of just go across like that in order to go between the different parts of the songs. The next thing I learned about them was copy and paste. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to do that. One would be to copy the entire pattern, and you can do that by going function copy, and you can see up there it's gone copy pattern. Now if you go to a new pattern then, function, say number 12 I wanted it in, then I go function paste, then it's pasted the entire pattern then to number 12. So that's how to copy an entire pattern. But if you want to copy just an individual, I think they call them sounds on this here, then you have to do exactly the same sort of thing, only with record enabled. So there, you press record there. This was on track number 5, so if I want to copy only track number 5, then I can do that by going through the same process, only having record enabled there. So go function copy the track, right? And then go to a new pattern, say I want it on number 14 there, function paste, and then I pasted all the different parts there onto that. The next part is global or pattern mutes. Obviously these two different things have got different pros and cons, but just to go over the differences and how to access them, you go function bank, and then all the sort of things come up as green, and that's the global mutes there. So if I'm playing on the wrong thing there, and let's go back to the first one, you can see now I'll go on a track with something a bit more going on. So now if I mute different things here and then go between different patterns on the global thing, then they'll still be muted when it goes on to the next pattern. Whereas on a per pattern basis, I found this a little bit easier to kind of use because let's say if I wanted to kind of change a load of different things between the pre-chorus and the chorus, like the kick was dropped out and I wanted to tweak a load of different things, and then go into the chorus, and then as soon as that kicks in, the bass and all the kick drum and the snare drum are all in and it's all kind of unmuted. I found that the pattern mute was a lot more kind of useful for that use there. And to access that, all you have to do is go function bank and tap it a few times until you get it looking purple. So this is on a sort of per pattern basis. So to kind of demonstrate that, I'll just go between a verse perhaps. You can see all these different elements in. That one was already muted, number 7. So now if I go to, you can see there, when it changed on to pattern number 3, these two were dropped out. Moving to pattern 4 then, all the different elements were kind of pre-programmed in order to come in so that all the mutes were kind of in place, if you know what I mean. The next tip is control all. So this is a really kind of strong feature where you can create a lot of kind of change here. So if I kind of demonstrate it here, I was doing a lot with reverb. So if I press play here now, you hold down track, and then you tweak it for any parameter. You can hear now that reverb has gone on every single track. Might be easy to kind of do pitch there. I'm changing the pitch of everything. And it's doing it for all the different tracks there. So you can do that for pretty much anything. You can go through and, you know, tweak something, make it sound really crazy and mad, that sort of thing there. Add filter to everything. Say you don't like that now, you can go back and just revert back to where you had by holding function. No. You can see underneath yes and no, it says save pattern and reload pattern. So the next tip is about saving to project. So if you were making all these different changes, just to kind of go back to the process of what we did with MADI, I kind of just had one loop, and as we were going on then, when the song arrangement was developing, we were saying, you know, let's drop the hi-hats out in the pre-chorus, let's bring them back in the verse, that sort of thing. I was going through and holding function, saving the pattern, thinking that was saving it to the kind of final thing. But as I was going through changing all the parameters and then going back, it wasn't kind of saving it to the final thing, and I was getting really frustrated thinking why is it not kind of operating as I wanted it to do. And what I needed to do was actually save it back to the project. So this here the temporary area I was just talking about then, function save pattern save to temporary area, that allows you to kind of do the little tweaks with control all, and then you can kind of reload it back then because it's only in the temporary area, right? But if you want to make a kind of more permanent change, then you have to save it to the project, and you can do that by going function save the project, yes, and that'll kind of save the project in a more permanent kind of state. The next tip, because I'm not very good at playing the keyboards or anything like that, we were doing a cover, I wanted to get the bass line in quite easily. So what I did was kind of just tap in the rhythm of the bass, and then kind of tweak the notes as I went on. It's kind of a quick and easy way to get the sort of thing in place that you want. So if I show you what I was doing now, let's clear. That might be another useful thing to show here. So if I go function clear, this is just going to clear the bass track now. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see there I've got the basic sort of rhythm in, but now I need to go in and tweak all the different notes. So because I'm more of a guitarist, I kind of worked out the bass line on a guitar first of all, and I knew the first note was say a C, or it's a C there, and then perhaps it goes up to a G, or kind of goes through like that. Where's that gone there? No, yeah, G. It might be quite a long-winded way of doing it, but for people who can't play keyboards, that's just a quick tip to kind of get your ideas in. Get the rhythm in first, and then kind of go through and then tweak all the different notes to where you want it to be. So this next trick is something that I used a little bit in the verses, where you can gain quite a lot of interest by dropping things out and bringing one thing in with just kind of one simple little hand movement there. So if I go to pattern number 2 here, get out the keyboard mode, press play here, go into the mutes mode, it's on the per pattern mute there. So what I could do at the start of the verse, I think these two aren't in on the verse originally, so that's how the verse starts, okay? So if I just want to bring in the shaker, what I can do is hold my 3 fingers down and then bring those in. So if I wanted to just bring the clap in with a nice bit of a kind of emphasis on it, I can hold these 4 down at once and then bring back in. So it's just a nice easy little movement there you can kind of use to add a bit of interest there. The last tip then, I'm calling the dual filter trick, where I think I was using it towards the end of the song, perhaps in the outro. So let's go to that section number 8. What I did is, I think the bass has a low pass filter on it, but some of the other elements have a high pass filter on it. So if I'm using the control all trick, it's kind of changing the point of the cutoff on a high pass and a low pass, so it creates more of a kind of interesting sound. So if I kind of so if I show you now, I change the frequency, you can hear that the high pass is going up. If you look at the bass track, kind of that's gone up from where it was. So you're kind of moving 2 elements of it, and it's kind of a different kind of interesting sound then. Yeah, so 10 quick little tricks for getting the most out of your Digitakt there. Hope you get something out of them.
Let me tell